The start of the NFL offseason is right around the corner, and I'm taking a quick break from the draft to address the first stage of the rebuilding process for these 32 NFL teams. I'm still planning my first round mock with trades, but for now you can still check out my last mock draft. It's over an hour's worth of draft talk, separated into two videos, round 1 and rounds 2 and 3. I also got started on my 7-round mock draft series with the Cardinals, and I'm leaving it up to you guys to determine who I do next by commenting with your favorite team in the comments of that video. But mock drafts can change drastically for teams with a big free agent signing, so I'm going to share the best NFL free agents that will leave a hole to be addressed in the draft for their former team and push a glaring need for their new team down the priority list. The free agency period isn't even officially here, and the Broncos trade for Joe Flacco, as dumb as it was, has already shaken up the top 10 of the NFL draft for me. If you guys have heard some rumors or ideas for some top free agents, doesn't matter if they're in this video or not, comment below and let everyone know where you heard it from. Unfortunately, we live in a time where all kinds of media outlets will manufacture rumors for clicks, and that includes the 32 million different fan sites for the 32 NFL teams. So please help contain the spread of clickbait headlines, or at least try to avoid contributing to it. That's part of the reason that I've moved away from creating stuff for Twitter and Facebook. I really appreciate YouTube creators keeping everything as accurate as possible, and the viewers just holding them accountable. You guys have really made it so that you've got to do your research on these YouTube streets or just get killed in the comments. Alright, now keep in mind that these guys are not in any particular order. They're just 10 of the best players that I see making the biggest impact in the right scenario for a new team this year. I want to thank everybody that's watching, commenting, subscribing, and all that good stuff on all my videos. You guys have really changed my world with your support of this YouTube channel, and I can't thank you enough. I'm going to set the goal for this video at 500 likes, so please continue helping me grow this channel and let the computers at YouTube know that this video doesn't completely suck. Alright, first off, I'm going to start with some honorable mention, and that's Panthers wide receiver Devin Funchess, Eagles cornerback Ronald Darby, and Browns quarterback Tyrod Taylor. I think that these three guys can really go and get a fresh start at a new team and make a huge difference. I don't think that Tyrod Taylor is going to go to a team as the starter, but he could go somewhere like Jacksonville and be exactly what they need if he gets his chance. Devin Funchess is on this list because I really don't know if they're going to let him go from Carolina, but he's still got a lot of potential in the right system, and maybe with a more accurate quarterback, he can finally blossom. And Ronald Darby, he might actually go back to Philadelphia also. They did trade for him, so they used draft capital to get him there, but I don't know if they're going to have the finances to re-sign him. But let's get started. First up, I've got Anthony Barr. I've been a huge fan of Anthony Barr since he was coming out of UCLA. He reminded me of Jason Taylor, and that might confuse you because Jason Taylor was a 4-3 defensive end for the Dolphins, while Anthony Barr has been playing an outside linebacker position in a 4-3. If you play Madden, you may think that Anthony Barr can do things that his real-life counterpart really can't do, like play in space as a coverage linebacker. But I think he's been playing out of position with the Vikings, and hopefully he can find a better scheme fit moving forward. The Cardinals, Packers, Redskins, Titans, and Giants all run 3-4 schemes that would be interesting to see him suit up as an outside linebacker for, but not a lot of these 3-4 teams have the cap space for him, so don't be surprised if he signs a huge deal with a 4-3 team and continues to be overpaid and out of position. My favorite landing spot for Anthony Barr is actually the Arizona Cardinals. I didn't add this idea into the 7-round mock draft video I just posted because of how much it would actually hurt their negotiating stance trying to get out of the top spot. Chandler Jones has been solid, but counts $19 million against the cap for the next 2 seasons, and barring a restructure, is actually a candidate to be cut next year. Anthony Barr would give them another impact defender and a pass rusher to overlap with Chandler Jones for a season or potentially 2. Up next, I've got Le'Veon Bell. It doesn't matter where you stand on Le'Veon Bell's handling of this contract situation last year. It can't be determined if it was a smart decision until we see the market value in free agency. I was pretty indifferent about it last year, but despite having him one of my keeper fantasy leagues, I did what most owners did and picked up James Conner and didn't really feel the downside. And I feel like that actually translates to real life too. I don't really think he's going to get the money he wants from a contender, but he probably doesn't really care. If he truly loved playing football, and I mean lived and breathed it still, he would have been out there last year because that Steelers team was viewed as a Super Bowl contender going into the season, and who wouldn't want a chance to do something special? Mind you, while you're still getting paid $15 million for your effort. Now he's going to probably get less than that annually from a shitty team that lacks offensive weapons, with the plan of putting a heavy workload on him to get their money's worth. I'm all for guys getting their money, but hopefully Le'Veon Bell valued that vacation more than the $15 million that he could have made last year, because he's not getting that from the Jets, Ravens, Dolphins, or Raiders. I'd love to see him in Baltimore to not only give Lamar Jackson a versatile weapon in the backfield, but more so to get that biannual revenge game against the Steelers. I think though that he's probably going to end up somewhere like the Raiders or Jets. Third on this list, I've got Teddy Bridgewater. I loved Teddy Bridgewater also coming out of college, but even I am starting to question where all the hype and praise is coming from with him. He's still got somewhat of an untapped potential, so there's that, but he hasn't exactly looked like a franchise quarterback in the limited action we've seen from him. I know hindsight is 2020, but the Vikings really should have just kept him because he was a fan favorite there, and he could have been kept for a lot cheaper, and then they could have re-signed some of the guys they're gonna have to let go in the next couple seasons, like Anthony Barr, like I was just talking about, because they went all in on Kirk Cousins and they just don't have the cap space anymore. I have absolutely no idea where Teddy Bridgewater is gonna go. I don't think that he goes anywhere as a starting quarterback, and while it seems like there's always a ton of teams that need quarterback help, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of places for Teddy Bridgewater this year. I honestly think he might be best suited just to return to New Orleans, continue to work with Sean Payton, and wait for another year for Drew Brees to potentially retire. At number 4 on the list, I've got Ziggy Ansah. The Lions are going to let Ziggy Ansah walk in free agency because teams will overpay edge rushers with potential overproduction, even at 30 years old, allegedly. Ziggy Ansah still has attributes that will be appealing for teams that need a 4-3 pass rusher. He has the potential to really change the draft approach for teams in the top half of the draft, like the 49ers, Bucks, Giants, possibly even the Colts, who had a lot of success with their last free agent from Detroit. With his injury history, I'd be hesitant to sign a guy who's almost 30 years old to top-tier pass rusher money, but I won't be surprised when he gets it. Alright, Mark Ingram is on this list mostly due to the name recognition because some fan base is going to be hyped about signing a ex-Heisman winner running back, but in reality they are getting a slow 29-year-old running back that is coming off a season where he was suspended for PEDs to start the year. So scratch this, let's replace Ingram with a guy that actually has a high ceiling as a free agent addition to a team, and that's Falcons running back Tevin Coleman. This dude has all the tools to be a top zone running back in the league and hasn't had a lot of opportunities in Atlanta. Honestly, Le'Veon Bell is going to be competing with Tevin Coleman in free agency because he offers a similar skill set at a much cheaper rate with way fewer miles and way less drama. Le'Veon Bell is like buying a used Corvette, and Tevin Coleman is like a brand new Camaro that's only been on a few test drives. And then signing Mark Ingram is like buying an old rusty Mitsubishi Eclipse from the original Fast and Furious movie. At number 6, I've got Earl Thomas. All signs are pointing for Earl Thomas signing with the Cowboys, and probably for less than market value for one of the best safeties of this generation. But as a Cowboys fan and a Longhorns fan, I'm a little bit torn on this. Earl Thomas has been a great player for years, don't get me wrong, but this whole final contract close to home thing has been done before by other NFL greats, and the track record is not very good. And we're talking about a guy with multiple serious injuries in the past few years, who's also mentioned the R word not that long ago. I'm not saying that Earl will be anything but a consummate pro at his next stop. In fact, I expect him to still be just as hard of a worker as he's always been. But I mention it quite often on this channel, and that's that complacency is a bitch, especially in sports, but nonetheless, it's human nature. Earl Thomas has been rumored to other teams like the Chiefs, Packers, and Falcons, but the move of his family to Austin really makes the Cowboys the clear favorites to me. We'll see how it all turns out. Moving on, we've got Ndamukong Suh, and I think that Ndamukong Suh really needed that run with the Rams to repair his image. He showed that he's still an impact player along the defensive line and that he's still hungry for a ring, whereas he had gotten a little lazy in Miami after destroying their cap with his big payday. Although we will find out quickly if he's still capable of being the guy when he's not playing on a defensive line with Aaron Donald needing to be doubled and triple teamed on most plays. There's a greater chance that Suh comes back to LA to play for the Rams than most of the other players on this list, but I'm thinking the Rams might be more likely to use that limited cap space to bring back Dante Fowler since they used draft capital to get him in that midseason trade with the Jaguars. Suh could take a discount to make another run at this thing because playing alongside the best defender in the league makes his job a lot easier, but I think too many teams will be throwing a bit too much money at him with similar Super Bowl run potential in 2019. While Suh played well in the Rams 3-4 as their nose tackle, he's got to be looking at a 4-3 front with any team that doesn't have an Aaron Donald to play alongside. The Falcons could look for a cheaper and shorter commitment at the defensive tackle position and replace Grady Jarrett with Suh, but I think the Falcons need to retain Jarrett with the franchise tag at least, so that leaves the Colts, Cowboys, and Chargers as teams with cap space that could sell Ndamukong Suh on a Super Bowl run. Let me know in the comments which one of these teams that you think has the best shot at Suh, or if I'm missing a team that could potentially add him to their defense. At number 8, I've got Landon Collins. After quite an up and down start to his career with the Giants, Landon Collins is going going to find a defensive scheme that he can consistently thrive in. He's played at the level of a top 5 safety in the league, but he's also had stretches of play where he looked like he didn't even belong on the field. He's going to be best suited to play alongside a rangy, single high free safety that can allow him to creep into the box where he's clearly the most comfortable. There may be a team out there that might see him as more of a nickel and dime coverage linebacker. The Giants actually won their Super Bowl with a hybrid safety on the field playing in a similar position under Tom Coughlin. That was one of the first places I remember seeing it done, and I incorporate that in all my Madden leagues nowadays too. In today's NFL, those old school in the box safeties are pretty much all playing linebacker now. I hope Landon Collins chooses to go somewhere where his talents will be used and not just the place that offers the most money. The Colts and Jaguars are my favorite places for him, but the Giants could slap the franchise tag on him and he'd be forced to stay. After trying to trade him last year at the trade deadline, I assume that they don't see him in their long-term plans, so having to pay an estimated $12 million against the cap is probably not the ideal scenario for him, and I don't think that he wants to be there because he's already cleaned out his locker. He's ready to move on. If they do franchise tag him, he might even hold out, so this could get ugly. Number 9, I've got Brandon Graham. The Eagles have been preparing to let Brandon Graham go for a while now. They drafted Derek Barnett a couple years ago, and Josh Sweat was a project taken in last year's draft. Brandon Graham has been one of the more underrated players in the league during his career. He's one of the best run-stopping defensive ends in the NFL, but he doesn't put up the double-digit sack numbers, so he doesn't get the name recognition. The concern with signing him is that he's going to be 31 years old, but he's been in a nice rotation with the Eagles for the past few years, so he's definitely got something left in the tank. Also, he's never been one to blow you away with his physical traits and has made a living with technique and a non-stop motor. Brandon Graham said he'd like to take a hometown discount, but it's going to be hard for him to stay in Philly if a team like the Chiefs offer him $15 million a year. I wouldn't even be surprised to see him end up in a hybrid or a 3-4 defense because I think he could actually play defensive end in one of those schemes. And then finally, I've got Trey Flowers from the Patriots, and the last player on this list might have actually had the best season of all of them. Trey Flowers was such a rock solid player for the Patriots, and I actually had him on this list, and then I took him off of this list because I heard that the Patriots were going to franchise tag him, and then they kind of rescinded on that idea, and now they're not going to franchise tag him. So I think that they assume that they're going to be able to get him for a little bit less than market value, and that he's going to want to stay there because he's buying into the Patriots way. If in fact somebody else does sign him, buyer beware with any kind of ex-Patriots players, especially defenders. Chandler Jones is about the only guy on defense that I can remember leaving New England and actually performing at the same level. Usually everybody from there has a slight to huge drop off in play. I'd love to see Trey Flowers back with the Patriots, but I know that some team is going to look at him as a young Super Bowl winning pass rusher, and everybody wants to get a piece of that. So I assume any of the other teams that are interested in a edge rusher will be looking to sign Trey Flowers. And then one more honorable mention, because I don't usually say anything about this situation, but now that it's kind of been resolved, I want to give a shout out to Colin Kaepernick because I think that he's going to get another chance this year. He was saved last for obvious reasons. I don't care what your political views are, but I'm assuming that if you're still watching, then you're a football fan first and foremost, and that's all I care about on this channel. Colin Kaepernick wasn't at the top of his game the last time he was able to showcase his abilities, but people forget that he was on a team that had been blown up by an owner that ran the best coach the team has had in decades over their alpha male issues. He wanted out because there wasn't a lot of talent left on that roster, and I think that he just wanted a chance somewhere else. And I even heard the Patriots rumored to sign him. The Panthers seemed like the best option with the health concerns of Cam Newton paired with the offensive system already in place, and then he's got his kneeling mate potentially back on the other side of the ball for the same team. Patriots seem like a long shot, and that's just like a rumor. The Patriots just like to be involved in rumors sometimes these days. But when it comes down to it, guys, the NFL did collude against Colin Kaepernick because of the fear of backlash from people that deemed his actions unpatriotic. But I think that enough time has passed. The NFL admitted guilt by paying him, so I think he's going to get another shot at playing in the NFL this year. For those of you that are still angry about his action, I want to let you know that it's okay to just pull back a little bit now and just move on. People won't think that you're less of an American because you're not making a bunch of anti-NFL posts on social media every time his name is mentioned in the broadcast. I think a lot of people were kind of ignorant to his cause initially because it seemed like he was just whining on the sidelines, and I'm still not sure if he would even decided to do this if he was a starter going into that 2017 season. But regardless, he brought an important issue to light that many people were not even aware of, and it was and still is deserving of the media attention that it was paid. But like I said, this isn't a political channel, so let's try to keep it as football related in the comments as possible, please. Thank you guys so much for watching, commenting, subscribing. I will have my first round mock draft with trades done in the next few days, so make sure you've got your notifications turned on. I will set a premiere for that so we can hang out and talk about it beforehand, during, and after. So I will see you all in the next video.